Hi guys, feel free to like and subscribe, and if you're interested in private coaching, go to www.coachcat.org. In this video, what I'm going to talk about is why no one seems to understand narcissistic abuse. Not your friends, not your family. They don't get it. Even therapists can have a hard time with it, and it seems like sometimes they're looking at you like you are the crazy one. And that is often because you have symptoms of PTSD, of complex PTSD. I like to call it complex post-traumatic stress injury, because that intimates that it is something that you are going to overcome rather than something that is sort of permanent. But because you're displaying a lot of those symptoms, and because the abuse is so hidden and insidious, and you may have been like a frog being boiled in water, you might not have even known that it was actually happening. So when you come out of these narcissistically abusive relationships, people are looking at you like, what is wrong with you? You almost seem manic. You're very upset, you're hurting, you're traumatized. This type of abuse is a very specific type of abuse, this psychological and emotional abuse. It's very targeted, it's very precise. It's a type of abuse where it's slow deterioration over time. You're like a frog literally being boiled in water. It's like small drops of acid over time, eroding down your sense of self. It's includes subtle devaluations, demeaning, devaluing. You experience gaslighting, lack of compliments, lack of affection, lack of honest communication. This person's very secretive. They withhold, compliments, positive reinforcement. They're stonewalling. They're very passive aggressive. And over time, it really erodes your sense of self and your self-esteem. It's hidden and it's covert, and you start to lose yourself. You can consider it, especially if you're with a covert narcissist, consider it the long con, this long, slow devaluation over time. And nobody else sees this because it's completely hidden. It can break your spirit. You get confused. Your brain actually doesn't work correctly. It's been traumatized, and you might have some very, difficult PTSD symptoms or post-traumatic stress injury. You don't trust yourself. You're very hypervigilant. You don't trust new people. You don't trust others. You have a lot of anxiety. You kind of lose your sense of self. You no longer trust your own instincts. You might have awful anxiety. You are in this situation where no matter how perfect you are, you tried to be loving and kind and understanding, and you were coming from a place of being probably an empath or a codependent and a people pleaser, and you just kept trying and trying and trying to be more perfect for the narcissist, but nothing you ever did would satisfy them, because they are like insatiable black holes that can never be satiated. So nothing you ever do will be good enough, and that goes for everyone in their lives eventually. That's how they treat all their relationships. They're superior, you're inferior, and they want you to know that over time, but in a very subtle way, so that you can't point it out or even recognize that it's necessarily happening to you. This is particularly difficult for empaths, codependents, and people pleasers, because they tend to have this great deal of empathy towards others, and they want everyone around them to be happy. They want everyone around them to feel sunshine of the spirit. They want everyone around them to feel joyful and to be fixed, right? And so this becomes this really toxic dance, because here you are trying to do whatever you can to please, whatever you can to please, whatever you can to be more perfect, and nothing you ever do meets the approval of the personality disordered type. So you're basically trying to please somebody who's totally impossible to please. And no one on the outside sees this hidden abuse. You might not even see it. If you're with a covert and there was nothing overt about it, and their abuse was all in the form of withholding, silent treatment, gaslighting, withholding of information, and sort of subtle manipulations, demeaning, disdain, but it could have been just in the form of disdainful looks, and withholding of sex and love and affection and all these normal things that we would hope to have in a relationship, or that are present in healthy relationships. So no one on the outside actually sees the hidden abuse. And, you basically, you got to think of it like it's a repetitive trauma from narcissistic abuse. It's prolonged exposure to repetitive trauma, but it can be, again, very subtle. It is three of the main symptoms that you might experience. One is panic attacks. You have anxiety. You feel like you can't breathe, like you're gonna pass out, almost like you might be feeling like you're having a heart attack, or just like you have all this massive anxiety, and you sometimes feel like you maybe almost like have a gorilla sitting on your chest. You can have panic attacks, can come out of nowhere, and you have no idea what's happening. You feel like you're dying. You could have another form is you might have anger and rage, and this is a very interesting type of anger because it's very dissociative. So you can have this anger and rage, but it's like this out of body experience. And sometimes that anger and rage is not overt, and it's not even expressed. It can actually sort of morph into like this incredible low grade chronic depression. So if it's like repressed anger, or if it's overt anger, you have this ruminating mind, this perseverating mind, and it's almost like you're having this internal battle in your brain. You might also have sort of almost OCD symptoms, or sort of incredible like hypervigilance and obsessive focus on getting everything perfect, excessive focus on your own perfectionism and thinking you have to be totally perfect in order to be loved or accepted. And again, these are all some of the potential symptoms. So one thing to know about the anger is a normal human emotion. It is especially normal if you're being abused. I actually think if you're being kicked like a dog over and over and over again, it's actually good for you to at some point go, stop kicking me, and to sort of stand up for yourself. And sometimes that does take you to tap into your anger. Anger can also be very helpful if you need to get out of an abusive situation and you need that that drive to like change the situation. I know for me, I spent a year in horrible depression and just withering away when I was in the relationship and I was in the discard. I know that now that it was the discard, but I was being horribly mistreated, but it was in a very silent treatment, passive aggressive, ignoring, neglectful, gaslighting, going to therapy, lying to the therapist, like this very insidious, awful way. So I wasn't really angry. I was just like dying. I was like horribly sad, and I didn't understand what was happening. And I was feeling all this incredible anxiety, and my brain wasn't making sense. I was being gaslit. I was being told that I was, crazy for thinking this person was being, having cheating, and that I was, I was just had jealousy issues, and that was like right at the same day that he came back, like from having sex with his girlfriend. It was like all of this like gaslighting. And I really was thinking it was all my fault. I was putting it all on me. And I was like, oh, I'll take all these courses on how to heal my jealousy and how to heal my insecurities and how to be a better wife. And I was reading all these books on like high functioning autism and like trying to understand how to be like a better partner. But I was being really badly gaslit. And our couples therapist was also being gaslit. So I'm just bringing in that personal story again to kind of help you understand that, like, for me, there was incredible like depression and like no energy or motivation to do anything. And then once the anger kicked in, which was actually quite appropriate in my circumstance, I took action and I got out of there. Once I knew the truth and I knew that I'd been lied and my whole relationship was a farce and it was a lie and this person was a fake person and they had a mask and nothing they said was true. Once I knew that, then I was able to get the power I needed to get out of the situation. And this anger, you might have actually been stuffing it for a long time, and it might become very repressed and very dissociative. So on some level, it's okay to have anger. What's not okay is to act out inappropriately with your anger. It's not okay to abuse people with your anger. It's not okay to have rage fests with your anger. What you really need to do is at some point, you need to get rid of that anger because you don't want resentment. It's a slow poison and it is going to rot you from the inside. That corrosive anger is really bad for you. So don't let your anger stay in you. Don't let it control you. And, resentment is a huge issue, but one way to deal with this, I think, is to use that acronym RAIN. And I've gone over this before, but RAIN. R is for recognize. Okay, I'm angry right now. A is for acknowledge. Well, what am I feeling? Anger. And sometimes you have to go, what am I feeling in my body right now? And take some deep breaths and meditate and figure out, what am I feeling? I'm feeling angry. Okay, that's for recognize. Acknowledge. I'm feeling angry. Investigate. What's behind the anger? Okay, well, I'm actually really just sad because, I found out this person was unfaithful and they've been lying to my face for all this time. And so I'm really just sad and I'm really hurt and I feel mistreated and wounded and abused. And I just feel really bad. I feel really, really a lot of grief. Or I'm afraid of what this person's going to do. I'm afraid because they're so unpredictable. I didn't know who they were. And now, I thought I knew and I didn't. And so now I'm terrified because there's unpredictability there. And you might be going through a court situation with them or anything like that. So investigate what is behind the anger. Is it fear? Is it sadness? Is it grief? Is it loss? What is it? So that's the investigate part. And then the N is the nurture. What do you need to do? You can meditate. You can run, you can rock climb, you can go jump in the ocean, you can go hiking, you can call a friend, you can get a punching bag in your living room or in your garage and do some boxing. There's a lot of different things that you can actually do to get rid of that anger, because you do not want it to turn into resentment. You do not want to be that poison that is corrosive. And so you need to take control of the anger rather than letting it control you. You can also do, there's a way to do sort of an anger inventory. You can do 4 columns. In one column, you can write the person. In the second column, you can write what happened. And whatever you're angry about. The third column, you can write, what does it affect? Does it affect my personal relations? Does it affect my sex relations? Does it affect my ambition? Does it affect, what does it affect? Does it affect my self-esteem? Does it affect my pocketbook? Write that inventory. And then your part, where have you acted out in the similar ways that they've acted out? Or if you're dealing with like a narcissist, a lot of times your part might actually be that you did not set healthy boundaries. You did not engage in radical self-care. You did not love yourself enough to put yourself equal to this person. You put them above you. You put their needs, wants, and desires above you, and you did not set, maintain, maintain, communicate healthy boundaries. And when they were violated, you might not have sort of enforced the consequence, right? So often it's because we didn't take care of ourselves. We didn't set healthy boundaries. So really, it's like we're really mad at ourselves and we're hurt. So it might help for you to do like an anger inventory. Another one of the, so with the panic attacks, what can you do about them? Well, you can ground yourself. You can do some deep breathing. You can come back into reality, come back into your body. You can do tapping. You can do meditation. You can even just go like this on your body and like hug yourself. You can give yourself a hug. Deep breathing, hugging, lots of self-love. Try this hugging. You can't believe how wonderful it is to give yourself a hug. I mean, obviously I prefer other people hugs depending upon the people, but you could also give yourself a hug and just be like, I love you, little one, I got you, and really just love yourself. It's all about calming down your nervous system. You can do yoga, meditation again. All these things can be very helpful because when you're in the middle, it's hard when you're in the middle of a panic attack because you actually feel like you're having a heart attack. Definitely if you're driving, pull over, take 10 deep breaths. Through the nose, out through the mouth. Through the nose. Okay, so, and then with the OCD, I just want to tell you that you do not have to be perfect in order to be loved. If there's any message you get from this video, I hope that it's that. People do not understand this narcissistic abuse. They look at you and think that you're choosing to be stuck in your post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. They think that you sort of have a choice and that you're choosing it. I understand that you are absolutely not choosing it. I understand that everyone who's on this, it just always asks me, how do I get over this? How do I heal? How do I get better? Remember, it's a post-traumatic stress injury. That's how I look at it. It is an injury, like a broken bone, and it is going to heal over time, especially if you mend it and you get a cast or whatever you need to do to fix that broken bone, right? So you may need to do some work, some therapy, some meditation, like all sorts of self-care. And understand that you're ruminating, and it's very hard for people to understand what you're going through. Most people are in normal relationships that may be dysfunctional, but they're not with people that have personality disorders. So they do not understand the impact of the gaslighting, the manipulation. The whole relationship is like a sick game to this narcissist or borderline. So it's very hard to understand that this person has been toying with you. They don't love you. There's no bonding. The bonding's not reciprocal. It's one-sided bonding. So people will want you to get over it and be grateful that you got out. But the reality is that your brain has actually been changed. It's been traumatized. It's an injury. It needs to heal. You've been targeted, and a narcissist has been playing with you. You don't get closure. You don't get explanation. You don't get honest communication. They never take any personal responsibility. You never get an apology. And then you might start shaming yourself for being stuck and for not getting better. And you feel like you're stuck in a vortex. And people on the outside have a very difficult time understanding this, even if they really, really love you. And this invalidation is further damaging because you feel like you're in this glass house and you're screaming and like nobody can hear you, and you feel very isolated and alone and like nobody understands. That's why I think a lot of you guys, a lot of me, all of us, that's why we go onto these YouTube channels, because we're looking for some sort of understanding, some sort of clarity, some sort of validation for what we've been through, because we know we feel crazy. We know that we're traumatized. Something really bad has happened to us. We can, a lot of times you can put your finger on exactly what it is. The further you get away from the relationships, the more you look back on it, the more you can realize like how deeply traumatized you were, but it takes a lot of time. And when people invalidate your experience, it is very further damaging. And a lot of times people do it, they don't mean to do it. It's because they don't understand. They've never been through a relationship like this. They do not understand the personality disorder dynamics. They don't understand that it could have been a 10-year non-reciprocal situation where they didn't bond, you bonded and they didn't. Could have been 30 years, 35 years. It's very, very odd. So, it's hard not to have your experience validated. Here's what I'm here to tell you. I validate your experience. I know what you went through. I know that you're not making this up. I know that you've been traumatized. I know that your brain has been altered. I know that you have an injury of the brain. I'm sending you so much empathy and so much love, like across the multiverse, because I'm just teasing, but because I know what that's like to feel like that. You're not crazy. You are going to heal. Time is going to help. No contact is going to help. And then also you might need to do some very specific things. If you're still in that anger phase, I highly recommend that you do an anger inventory. I highly recommend that you do not let this resentment get inside you, become corrosive and sort of eat you from the inside out. Don't let that happen, because anger is like poison. You drink the poison and you expect the other person to die. So anyway, I hope this is super helpful for you guys. And I understand what you've been through. I think everyone on these forums really does get it. So I understand. And again, you're going to heal. If you want private coaching, go to www.coachkat.org. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.